you're out moving, climbing trees, crawling, swimming, jumping, all those things, the body's going to respond to that.
So the sitting person's not using their feet, but if they wanted to use their feet, I'm tapping my feet right now. That's not a bad little stimulating thing to do if you are stuck, and if you want to have something to help your system while you're stuck, you could move your hips. And you mentioned playing in positions. Could you describe what you mean by playing in positions that are seated?
Well, when you play in a position, you sit down, get your knees in a position like more of a 90 degrees. And then you play with your hips because the hips are the center, right? So if I roll my hips back, I slump. If I roll my hips too far forward, then I'm extending my spine, right? And it's important to know where your ends of range of motion are. So this is my end of range of motion this way, and this is my end of range of motion this way. So the whole time that I've been sitting here, I've been shifting micro movements in my pelvis. So I'm working hip flexors, spinal erectors, spinal stabilizers, those sort of muscles. And I've also been doing things with my feet. I lift my heels up, right?
We'll take a look at some of the things Isaac's doing here. So demonstrate.
So I lift my heels up and down like this. So you can lift your, like you were doing, like this. You can tap your feet. You can move out and in. You can go in and back and forth like this.
The Charleston.
You can stretch one leg.
These are perfect for airplane and car trips and desk.
I mean, these are no mystery. You can find these kind of exercises anywhere on the internet. You can bring your arms behind your head, pull back, you know, circle your arms forward, circle them back. I mean, these are all exercises. The other thing is, these are all great exercises, but then standing up. You know, position your feet, try to position your feet together and stand in this position. Stand with your feet wide. And then play back and forth with that movement. Try to balance, like where do you have your balance on one leg compared to the other leg. And if you sit up and down a couple times a day, more than a couple times really, if you do it every half hour, every 20 minutes.
What, like 10 reps maybe?
Then you're doing squats every day. And the most important thing about that is that don't use your hands. Everyone gets up and they'll do this sort of thing. Or they sit down and they do this, right? And if you're going to stand up, lean forward, shift at the hips, bend at the hips, and then push into your feet and stand up. So that activates your hips. But if you get up like this, you're getting up with your shoulders, right? I'm pushing up with my shoulders, and I'm coming up like this and using my abs and my upper back to stand up. And then that activates more of these muscles in the upper body. Whereas you want to activate the hips, you want to move from the hips. Try sitting so that you have your chair far behind you. Most people will come and kind of grab their chair and then sit down. That's a loss of proprioception in the butt. So if you sit, stick your butt out and then sit down. Pretend you're that piano player who brings the
cape,
the cape back behind him and then sits down.
The tails, yeah.
And you'll see people do this. You'll see them do this. They go, you know, they have no proprioception in their butt, especially from sitting all day long, because it cuts it off. It cuts off the sensitivity of the skin, the sensitivity of the musculature, everything, the senses in that area.
So we've heard fallen and can't get up, and then we have the seniors that get stuck on the throne, and sometimes they're there for half a day before somebody rescues them. Is that because of weakness in the quadriceps, or what is that generally from?
Typically, people can't get up because the position of their pelvis has shifted here. It's really hard for me to get up unless I move from the pelvis. I have to do something like this, right? If I can't shift and turn my pelvis so that it makes my spine underneath me, then it's really hard for me to get up. I mean, keep your pelvis like that and then try to stand up. It's really hard to get up.
So they've got a rounded spine.
So if you're not hinging here at the pelvis, then you can't get up. So it tends to be this position that all these people end up with. That's why people get shorter as they age, is they lose the function of their pelvis, which helps the rest of the spine be in the proper position. It stacks it up properly.
Okay.